Coronation Quiche may be highly controversial, we'll tell you why later, but it's also very tasty. We'll show you every step on how to make this delicious quiche. The ingredients list is in the video description. The crust for this quiche is called short crust. This means it uses equal amounts of lard and butter. You can buy the dough, but it's cheaper to make it. Sift the flour and salt into a large bowl. You can use a strainer or a sifter. Add unsalted cold butter and lard and press with the tips of your fingers to incorporate the flour into the lard and butter. If you don't eat lard, just substitute it with butter. Once it starts to become incorporated, rub back and forth with your hands. The mixture will become grainy, like this. Then add half of the cold milk and mix some more with your hands, like this. Add the rest of the milk and keep kneading gently until incorporated. Don't overdo it, this will only take about a minute. Transfer the dough onto a piece of plastic wrap. Flatten it a little and wrap it tightly. We wrap it this way rather than just covering it because this method minimizes contact with the air. Refrigerate for at least 35 minutes. You can leave it for a few days, and it's also fine to freeze it for later. When you're ready to use the dough, take it out and sprinkle flour on both sides. Don't throw away the plastic wrap, you'll need it again soon. Gently roll out the dough, forming a circle. If the dough splits, overlap it and roll again. It's a bit tricky, but you'll get it eventually. The rough circle should be about 1.5 inches bigger than your tin. You can check this by placing your tin in the center. Fold carefully in half and then in half again. Our flan tin was slightly larger than the one listed in Mark Flanagan's recipe, so our crust was a bit thinner, but this ended up being just fine. Place in the tin with the point in the center. Gently unfold. Press the dough over the sides of the tin, taking bits that hang down to fill in any gaps. We had enough dough, but it was thinner. Press holes into the crust with a fork to prevent bubbles from forming. Cover with the plastic and refrigerate for at least 30 minutes. You can also do this a day or two before you add the filling and cook your quiche. Preheat the oven and take the quiche out of the fridge. Now it's time to make a paper airplane. No, just kidding. Take out a piece of parchment paper and fold in half, then in half again, then into triangles. Place the point in the center and cut off 1 inch past the tin. Now you have a round covering for the quiche. Crumple up the paper. This makes it easier to fit into the tin. Now add some dried beans or rice to use as a weight while you bake the dough. This is called blind baking. The original recipe says to bake for 15 minutes, but we strongly recommend baking for 10, then taking it out. Save the beans for the next time you bake a crust. There's a step missing in the recipe. At this point, you should brush the egg with egg wash and bake for an additional 5 minutes. We didn't do this, but we should have. Grate 100 grams of cheddar. We recommend using a sharp cheddar. If you find this video helpful, please show your appreciation with a thumbs up. It helps us keep making videos. To cook the spinach, add half a tablespoon of olive oil to a pan on medium heat. Add a pinch of salt and stir until the spinach is soft. Place into a strainer and let cool. Once cool, press and squeeze to remove as much water as possible. This step is important to avoid ending up with a soggy quiche. If you're using frozen spinach, you also need to include this step. Roughly chop the spinach and set aside. We use frozen broad beans. We call them fava beans. Add a teaspoon of salt to a pot with water and bring to a boil. Carefully add the beans and cook for 1.5 minutes. Remove from the heat and immediately plunge into an ice bath. Let the beans cool for 5 minutes, then take out of the ice. You need to remove the skins. The peels are too tough to eat. Pinch and gently press the bean out one side. This is easy, but it takes a little time. Set aside. Remove the tarragon leaves from the stems. Fresh tarragon gives much more flavor than dried tarragon. Finely chop the leaves and set aside. In a large bowl, add the milk, cream, eggs, tarragon, a generous pinch of salt, pepper, and whisk well. Set aside. Spread out half of the cheese, then all of the spinach, followed by all of the broad beans. Gently pour over the liquid and add the remaining cheese. Oh no! Our quiche is leaking! This leak happened because of the missing step in the recipe. Be sure you brush on the egg to avoid this from occurring. But if it does, don't worry. Just slide a metal baking sheet underneath the quiche. Take out the quiche and gently tap the top to test if the center is done. If it's firm, it's done. We needed to put ours back in for an extra 5 minutes. Now the quiche is perfectly cooked. The cheese is nicely browned. Let the quiche rest for at least 20 minutes. If you want to make it look pretty, trim off the crust around the sides. Then separate the quiche from the walls of the tin. Here's a trick for removing it. Turn a bowl upside down and place the tin on top. Press around the bottom to loosen, then pull the outside down. The bottom is still there. To remove, insert a spatula or knife to separate the quiche from the tin. Lift carefully and place on a plate or board and slide the quiche off. What a thing of beauty! Quiches go very well with Riesling wine. As you can see, we imbibed while making our video. Pour out a glass and congratulate yourself on a job well done. For those of you who don't know, here's why quiche was such a controversial choice for the signature coronation dish.
Well, why do you think it's so controversial?
The real controversy is that at the moment you've got a massive egg shortage in Britain. There are no eggs in the supermarkets.
Despite the controversy, the truth is, Coronation Quiche is delicious. We ate this entire quiche ourselves in one go.
I gotta say, because the broad bean confused me at first, but it's really yummy.
If you liked our Coronation Quiche video, you might enjoy these too.